Hey, Kevin Stimson here, and you're watching SNG TV, the place to be for the dreamer, go-getter, and action taker. Super excited to have with us today our guest, Richie Norton. He's the best-selling author of The Power of Starting Something Stupid and Resumes Are Dead and What to Do About It. He's also a strategic advisor to businesses, organizations, and individuals. He's also an international speaker and CEO and founder of Global Consulting Circle. So thank you so much, Richie, for joining us, man. It's definitely appreciated.
Hey, you're welcome. I'm really excited to be here. This is going to be fun, man. I've been looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So let's dive into it. You wrote the book Power Started Something Stupid. How did that even come about? Was it a life event that happened in your life for you to say, okay, it's time to write this book? Did you always want to be an author? How did that kind of happen?
Great question. So, yeah, I guess, I don't know if I've always wanted to be an author, but I had it in my head that I wanted to write books and do speaking and do consulting. And I spent actually about 6 years really studying the story of success.
Mm-hmm.
What made people successful? What made people that were successful, not bridge that gap? And I actually spent a number of years interviewing people. I interviewed hundreds of people, asking them about what worked, what didn't work, and I learned a lot of different things. But let me just pause there for a second. While I was figuring this out and writing this book, I had a couple terrible things happen. I'll share it with your audience so they can understand where I'm coming from.
Absolutely.
We were living in Hawaii. We lived there for about 12 years. My brother-in-law lived on and off with us for about 5 of those years. And while he lived with us, he just brought so much joy into our lives. He's a cool guy, always going out, helping homeless people, going out and traveling the world, building houses in places like Cambodia. And he's just a really cool kid. Sadly, one day he didn't wake up.
Wow.
He passed away in his sleep at the age of 21.
Wow.
And this experience, it shook us. It totally changed the way we saw the world. Because, you think that you're going to live your whole life, you're going to grow old, you're going to retire, you're going to be able to do all the things you want to do and fulfill those dreams you have. But for him, it just wasn't that way. And so it made me rethink life. It made me, realize, life is short. And even though that's cliche, it doesn't make it any less true, right? Like, it really is short. So a few years later, again, still working on the book. I'm a big procrastinator. Just trying to make it happen. But something else happened. We had our 4th son, and we named him Gavin after my brother-in-law who passed away. His name was Gavin.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah, and this baby boy, again, just so much joy into our lives, so cool, kind of filled the hole that his uncle Gavin had left. But something happened to him too. He got this cough, and the cough persisted. We took him to the doctors, and they thought he'd be fine, and we took him back to the doctors. They said maybe it's something called RSV, until one night it got really bad, and we ended up going to the emergency room really late one night. And we were admitted to the hospital. We ended up being there for quite some time. Again, hoping, praying that everything would be fine, that he'd be okay. But as it turned out, he caught something called pertussis, also known as whooping cough.
Oh, wow.
And this is a disease that we thought was something of the past. We didn't know what was going on. We were learning about it as it was all happening. But it turned out that it was just too much on his little body. And the nurse, I remember her one night, she came in and she said, "You know what, don't leave tonight." And we knew what that meant, and we obviously never left. We were always there, but she was trying to let us know that it was serious.
Right.
And there came a time where we had to basically let go. I remember my wife and I, we just held hands over him on the bed, and we took all the tubes and wires out of him, and I rocked him, and my wife held him, and we sang lullabies until he slipped away. And it was one of the, as you can imagine, hardest things you can ever experience.
Sure.
Losing your son, and we left that hospital empty-handed, and it's a tragedy that we've thought about over and over and over again, both my brother-in-law and my son, and we think about them all the time. We think, what can we do to live our lives better because of them?
Mm-hmm.
And so part of the book, The Power of Starting Something Stupid, yeah, obviously as I did those interviews, I learned that successful people didn't just start things. They started something that someone once called stupid.
Yep.
And we'll get into that. But what I also learned is what I call Gavin's Law, after my brother-in-law and my son, and which is this. Gavin's Law: live to start to live.
Love it.
Because when you live to start those ideas that are pressing on your mind, you really will start living.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, those ideas that are pressing on your mind, they won't go away. And you want it to go away because if you do something about it, your life's going to have to change.
Right.
And so instead of doing something about it, we say, no, that's a stupid idea, I won't do it. We stuff it away in a drawer labeled stupid, and we never go back to it.
Right.
But a lot of things, everything from the telephone, I call it the three T's of stupidity. Everything from the telephone to the Model T to Twitter were stupid ideas that literally changed the world and changed the lives of the founders that started these things.
Right.
So again, we can get into this more, but that's a little bit of background on me, why I wrote the book, where I'm coming from, and I really help people do start their stupid ideas so they can live a life without regret.
Absolutely. So, Richie, I love how you were able to, matter of fact, turn a tragedy into a blessing in, disguise. That's kind of how, I would position it.
Yeah.
For me personally, in high school, I lost so many people that I knew. I graduated, I'm only 26 years old, right? And I graduated in 2007. It started out with this one girl. She passed away, got hit by a drunk driver. And then every year after that, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 people that I knew personally ended up dying of just crazy deaths. And I'm just sitting here, I'm like, wow, life is really short. You gotta live right now. If you're gonna do something, you have to do it right now. It's really that important because if you end up waiting till tomorrow, you never know if you'll have that opportunity or chance to even see that into fruition. So I love that you were able to, write that book in honor of your son and your brother-in-law. Absolutely.
Hey, thank you. And that's really hard, like we all go through things or other people go through things and it affects us, dramatically. But it really is how we frame it and what we're going to do about it. So, yeah, let's take it from there, man. Life's even your listeners, I'm sure they've gone through crazy stuff that we can't even imagine. And it's just, are you going to let it destroy you or are you going to do something about it to help it lift you, right?
Absolutely. So you were able to, turn something that went so bad and was able to turn it around. Talk to us a little bit about failure per se and how that played a part in your success or in your journey.
Sure. So, I'm always trying new things, which inherently means I'm always failing at things, right? And I really believe that failure is part of the process, but you obviously want to fail as little as possible, but when you do, you got to get back up. So my first business I started was actually in college, and I had written a business plan to help students from developing countries go back to their home countries and become self-reliant through self-employment in their hometowns and be leaders and spur the economy, all that kind of stuff. And I wrote this business plan I submitted it to the school business. They were having a competition. And there's two parts. One is the paper part where if you pass that part, you can go to them, present it. And then if you do well and present it, you can maybe win some money or something.
Right.
So I submitted it, and I didn't even make it past the first round. Like, they thought, they're like, they're like, you can't do this. They're like, this is something you can't do. And they're like, the devil's in the details. And I was just like, oh, man, I'm going to show you. and I just did it anyways. I reworked the business plan. I got some mentors that could help me put it together. And I started actually meeting people who needed this help, raised some money. I mean, I'm in college. I'm broke. At the time, I was student body president, so I was crazy busy. My wife had just had our first son. Like, it was the busiest time of my life. And I did it anyway, so I knew if I didn't do it, I would regret it.
Yeah.
And I knew there was people I could help. And I think sometimes we say, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to wait till I'm retired to do it. But if you're 26, what, you're going to wait till you're 66? You're going to wait 40 freaking years to
Makes
do
no
this thing that
sense.
you want to do. Yeah, man, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And so I did it anyways. It turned out to be successful, and that led me into a series of other businesses. So
Beautiful.
yeah, I failed at the beginning, but I just tweaked it. I pivoted and then reworked it, and it led to many other good things.
Perfect. That's really what it's all about. That's what it's all about. So many people, they're scared of even trying new things because they're scared of what's going to happen. I would say uncertainty. They don't know what's going to happen. So for you to
Yeah.
go on ahead and do that, salute to you, hats off to you. And I mean, even for me, and starting Strive and Grind, 26 years old. I started when I was 24. Didn't know what it was going to be. I mean, when I first started, it was just a blog, but now, we have apparel, we have brand ambassadors and athletes, we have courses
wow.
and programs. We have all this stuff now. 2 years ago, I didn't know it was going to happen. And back at home, I ended up moving from Virginia Beach, and now I live in California. I was telling people about this idea, and they'd all be like, I don't know. They didn't have real trust in me. They were just saying, Kevin, take the corporate route. At least you're making money there, this, that, and the third. But I said, forget it. I'm going all in, all hands on deck kind of thing. And I love it. I wouldn't trade it for
Yeah.
the world. So let's pivot into, your strive. Why do you strive so hard for, what you do? I know you said for your brother-in-law and your son, but what's some of your motivation behind, what you do and why you do it?
So, I look at options. I think everyone should look at their options. Like, you got to make money. One way you look at it or the other.
Yeah.
And so I realized you can either make a lot of money and hate yourself, because you're doing something you don't like.
Yep.
You can make a little money doing something you really love, which is a great thing to do, and I totally believe in that. It's just that you're going to burn out at some point. You need some money so that you can be self-sustaining.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're going to be broke and looking to other people to rescue you, so to speak, so you can live your dream. That's not fair to anyone.
Right.
And so I realized the place you want to be is where you're making enough money to support your needs, your family, whatever it is, and doing the thing that you love. That is the sweet spot. And so I've constantly been thinking, if I really want to get out there and help people start things, that's my dream. Help people live their dreams. That's what I've been trying to do. Help people work their way out of poverty. Help them be self-reliant. I thought I could do that when I'm retired and go be like some philanthropist or something.
Right.
But again, that's so far away.
Yep.
Or I can figure out a way to make money and help people at the same time. So that's what drives me, And being an entrepreneur, it's feast or famine, Like sometimes you make some good income, but it's not consistent, right? And then you're back to recycling cans to put
ramen noodles.
That's right. It's a crazy lifestyle, but then I compare that to being in a job where I can't leave, and I can't go on vacation, I can't coach my kids' soccer teams, and I can't, whatever. I mean, there's trade-offs. There's always trade-offs.
For sure.
But there's that risk and that reward. And so the goal is, how can I then be an entrepreneur with consistent income, doing what I love? And that's what drives me, just constantly trying to find that balance and make it work. And the thing is, like, people say there's work-life balance. There's not really. I mean, your life is always going to be unbalanced. Mm-hmm. And it's not like you want there to be an equal work-life balance where you're working 12 hours a day and then you're playing 12 hours a day. That, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't work. You got to throw sleep in there and you got to throw whatever else in there. But what you want is to tilt your life in a way that your lifestyle is congruent with your ideals. And I think if you can figure that out, you're going to be happy and successful, and that's what drives me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about what your thoughts on being average and people being mediocre. Like, it's okay to be average at certain things, but not being able to be great at one thing. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
That's good. So one of my favorite books is called Good to Great by Jim Collins. And he starts out the book saying that good is the enemy of great. Mm-hmm. And that always struck me. And you want to be the best you can be, you want to deliver the highest value you can, and you want to be that high performer. That's what we all strive for.
Right.
At the same time, you don't want to be a perfectionist. Perfectionists are inherently procrastinators, like I mentioned I am, because you're saying it's not good enough, I'm never going to start. Mm-hmm. So there's a balance between starting where it's not perfect, and then also perfecting it so you're delivering the highest value. So, I believe in being a high performer, but I also believe you got to start where you're at with what you have. Otherwise, you're never going to get going.
For sure. For sure. Okay, so let's pivot into your grind, your hustle. So, what is an average day for you like?
Cool. So, I have a ton of things going on. I run a number of different businesses. I have online courses. I write books. I do coaching calls. Like it's pretty intense. However, I'm actually not that busy.
Yeah.
and that's why I have time to do these kind of interviews and podcasts and things, because I've set it up so that on certain days at certain times I do certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So I divide up my life in a way that it gives me the flexibility to be able to go out and do things. So a typical day for me really is I wake up about 5 in the morning, because that's when the babies start crying. they're my alarm
feel your
clock.
pain.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. So we have our 4 sons, one that passed away, and then we have 3 foster kids. So
wow.
we have
Full
6
house.
kids in our house, and it's nuts. And the youngest are twins. They're about almost 2-year-old twins.
Wow.
So they wake up at 5 in the morning. My wife's usually up late with them in the night, taking care of things. So I usually get up early, get them breakfast, get them going. My wife gets up. We start getting the kids ready for school. By 8 o'clock, everyone's pretty much at school except for the babies are at home. I work from home,
Mm-hmm.
and then I start doing calls. I set up calls with people to do consulting and coaching, and then I set up times to go through my email. And email is where you kind of lose everything. You lose your whole day in email, unless you prioritize it. So what I try to do is do my most important emails first, and then forget all the other emails. I honestly, I'm constantly archiving my emails so that it goes back to 0. Because I've been to the point where I have, tens of thousands of emails, and I'm like, I can't handle this. Archive.
Right.
And so archive, I can still find it if I need it. But in the meantime, if I miss somebody, they can just email me back and say, Richie, what happened? Like, oh, sorry about that.
Yeah.
So I'm not being flaky. I actually find the emails that I need and work on those. But as long as I'm working on the things that are most important, everything else falls into place. If I'm always putting out fires that are non-essential, I'm never gonna get anything done. So that's kind of how it works. And then around 3 o'clock, we go pick up the kids from school, hanging out with them until it's dinner time, whatever, and start it again. So it's nothing crazy. My day looks pretty average, but I get a lot done in a little bit amount of time. So I try to not do things that are unimportant and only do things that are important.
That's perfect. So, for all of our striving grinders out there, listen to the importance of that, really putting priority on those things of most importance and of most value, because really it's really that 80-20 rule, right? Focus on the 20% of those things is going to add 80% or more of that value to you. So, good point there. Let's talk a little bit about, what do you think separates you from, everybody else, or, the competition?
I bring it back to the idea of just being stupid. Like, I'm not afraid to look like an idiot,
Yeah.
And a lot of times they reach a measure of success, and then they're like, oh, I can't try that, because if I do and I fail, everyone's going to see, and that's going to destroy me. No, man, it's not about being up on a pedestal and staying there. It's about constantly reinventing yourself and turning that wheel, which means to me constantly returning to stupid, starting over, breaking yourself down, being humble,
Absolutely.
and not like being prideful, like having pride for your country, your team, your school. That's cool, but being prideful to the point where you're not willing to start something stupid, that's actually going to be your downfall.
Right.
So being humble to the point where you're teachable and open to trying new things, and really just pushing, and trying to excel in a way that others don't. So, I try not to compare myself to others. Everyone's just doing their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes me different, I think, is just constantly returning to stupid and starting over and reinventing myself.
Do you feel that being conservative in a way when it comes to applying yourself to new things and doing certain stuff, do you feel that keeps you stagnant? Like for me, I'm the kind of person that I feel like I'd rather risk almost all of it to go all in on what I want, as opposed to dipping here and dabbing there. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So everyone's in a different position. So some people will say, I'm going to burn the bridge, I'm going to burn the boats, I'm just going to go and I'm going to make it happen. And you can be
Mhm.
very successful doing that. Someone who's currently in a job, I don't, unless they have a ton of money in the bank and they can have a 6 to 12 month cushion,
Mhm.
I normally try to say, keep your job, then create your side hustle, have your side hustle earn enough income to where you could then turn your real job into a part-time job, and then your side hustle into a full-time job. Until then, you can then totally leave your job and start your own thing. So I
Right.
kind of work it that way. But I really believe in not waiting. You have to start now, and you take your big picture dreams, break them down into smaller, more manageable parts, and then work your way up incrementally. And then I think you'll have success.
Perfect. So let's talk a little bit about those specific characteristics that you would accredit most of your, to achieving greatness.
So I created an acronym for the word START,
Hmm.
which is this: serve, thank, ask, receive, and trust. So
Love it.
START. So you start with service, and if you have anything you want to do, try and serve the person that you're trying to eventually work with, or serve in the industry you're trying to be in. Thank the people that you're working with, and then you'll be in a position to actually ask for what you need, or
Love it.
ask for the sale, or ask for money. A lot of people, they jump straight from where they are to asking for help. When they jump into straight for asking for help, they're not actually in a position to receive the help they want, because people are like, who are you? Where are you coming from?
Right.
What do you want? But if you serve them first and then thank them, you create a relationship of trust. So then you're able to receive what you want and then trust the process and move forward. So you follow those 5 steps: serve, think, ask, receive, and trust. You'll be well on your way to making it happen.
Love it. So, what are some of those? What would be one advice that you would give our striving grinds out there for tapping into and unleashing their inner greatness? If it were to come down to one thing, what would it be?
So if I were to narrow it down to one thing, I think what I would say is this: like, leverage existing resources. What I mean is, you think that you have to wait till you have more time, more education, more experience, more money to finally do what you want to do. But what you're going to find out is that when you finally think you have all the stuff you need, you're still going to need more time, more education, more experience, and more money. You're
Right.
always going to have that gap. So instead, leverage exactly what you have and use what you have and start where you are and just make it happen. So don't wait, start stuff, start now. Live Gavin's Law, live to start to live.
Perfect. All right. Now, give us one action that we can take to have us closer to realizing our dreams.
So the very first thing I would do is actually write down on a piece of paper what it is you want to accomplish and by when.
Love it.
Simple as that. And then I would say, go and tell someone, an accountability partner, so to speak, that you're going to do that thing. Someone that you'd be afraid to fail in front of, right?
Right.
Or not to disappoint, and go make it happen.
Love it. And that's how I start off too. I'm a big fan of writing things down. I told myself that I'm going to be moving to California by December 31st. I moved here in March, like the March 1st. I was like, yes, that's
Wow.
already my big goal of 2015. I already knocked out.
Yeah,
So
that's really cool.
thank you. I appreciate it. But that's big, man. Having accountability partners and making sure you have people that's in your corner, making sure and holding you accountable for doing what you said you're going to do. So
Totally.
now we're in the wrapping up part of the interview. I know you have a nice little freebie for our audience, and it's a 76-day challenge. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. If you just go to my website, richienorton.com/76 days challenge, I've created a 37-page action guide that will hold your hand to help you turn your stupid idea into your smart reality. So it's very simple. 76 days, that's how long my son lived for.
Wow.
And so I try to set my goals in that time period. It's about 3 months. And I've learned you can do anything in about that time period. So it's just about, getting prioritized and working on it consistently, and then you'll see the magic happen.
So purposeful. Thank you. I'm definitely gonna add that into our show notes. So
Cool. Thank you.
we'll have a lot of our audience hitting that soon. So what does strive and grind mean to you? We ask all of our guests that question. What does it mean to you?
So to me, it means do whatever it takes, legally, ethically, of course.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. But do whatever it takes, sacrifice whatever you need, And to me, sacrificing is actually more of an investment, because when you get back more than you give up, it's an investment, right?
Yeah.
So do whatever it takes to invest your time and your resources to make that dream happen.
Cool. Richie, so what can we expect from you next?
So I have, online courses that are coming out. I have one called Mastering the Power of Starting Something Stupid.
Nice.
And that would be an awesome segue from the 76-day challenge to starting your own stupid idea. So you'll probably see that coming out in the next couple weeks, and yeah, you guys will love that. It'll be awesome.
Cool. So where can we find out more about you?
When you get the 70, so just go to richienorton.com, and there you'll find out everything you know. You can jump on my email list. You can get the free ebook. You can find my books there, all that good stuff.
What about social media?
Social media is on there too. richienorton.com will have my Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. So yeah,
Perfect.
Good to go.
Thank you so much. We're going to add that to the show notes as well. Richie,
Cool.
Thank you so much for participating in this interview. Much appreciated, man.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you, man. That was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. To all our Striving Grinders out there, if you love this interview, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Until next time, keep striving, keep grinding.